Hi guys, welcome back to the Yes You Pod,
Podcasters with you guys community. I'm Avery.
and I'm Emily, and we are so happy that you guys are back here. Welcome back to part 2 of last week's episode. Hi guys, how was your week? How was your week?
America's gonna.
Oh, that was great. I hope you guys enjoyed this week. You guys did some Christmas stuff, because Christmas is coming,
Christmas is coming.
and it's right around the corner. But yeah, hope you guys got to listen to last week's episode. It was great. Yeah. LOL.
It's hard to record. Okay, guys. Full transparency. It's hard to record a part 2 the same day.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was great.
Yeah, it was
We got a lot of
great.
great feedback. We're prophesying at this point.
Great. Yeah.
Great
amen.
reviews.
Great reviews.
A lot
great
of shares.
reviews, A lot of shares. Exactly what we wanted. Thank you. At YouTube followed us. That was great.
Yeah, subscribe to us, actually.
Subscribe on YouTube, guys, and like it up, send a comment, subscribe, and do all the
things,
stuff, please. So yeah, last week we really just covered a lot about sex and pornography and just the things. Hey, good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, welcome. Just all the things that really it's hard to deal with in today's world, but I think it was necessary for us to bring up a topic like that, and we obviously want to continue it and go more in depth this week, just about our personal experiences, even growing up, and how the church views and viewed purity and dating and all of that jazz. So that's something we really want to bring up this week, and something that I think we should talk about is, like, growing up in church, how did you feel the topic of sex and purity was approached for you? Was it in the right way, or was it even talked about at all?
No, it wasn't talked about. At least in my household, no one talks about that.
Mhm.
Like, I live in a Hispanic household, but
Yeah.
we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
If it's on the TV, we change the channel. Like, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, it's not a topic of conversation ever. When I got to the age where I could start dating, like, they just kind of asked me, like, oh, you know what this is?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay. And
Yeah.
that was it. They didn't ask me what was right about it, what was wrong about it, but at least saying, like, hey, like, you're at the age where, things can happen, and, that's not okay, right? You have to wait.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. But it was never a conversation. In church, no one talks about that.
Yeah.
Like, at least when I was growing up in church, no one even could date in the church I went to.
Yeah.
And now, like, I love going to church and seeing, like, couples, people married. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's great. Who was arranging marriages over there? Like, it was
LOL.
not okay.
LOL.
But no one could date. Like, or no one could even say, oh my God, I like this boy. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, you're lusting over this boy. Or like, oh, why do you like this boy? Or
Yeah.
things like that. So, it's a hard topic. It was never
Yeah.
brought up, at least for me. For
Okay.
you?
No, neither. I think it was also, in that sense, growing up, I feel like everyone was already married, because growing up, it was all adults. I didn't have youth my age.
Yeah.
I don't think I started being around youth my age, like, maybe for conferences or camps.
Yeah.
And I would never even dare mention it to my parents, or, like, you know what's crazy? Something that like, when I was younger, it was all adults, so everyone was already married. As I got older, like, and also just the way I viewed myself, and that's a whole nother conversation about, self-worth and all of that jazz. But, like, as I got older and I started, like, actually viewing guys in a certain way, I would always, like, that's kind of bad, I'd always pick the ugly ones, because, like, I felt like that's what I would, like, if I picked, like, a cute guy, oh, I'm lusting. And, like, that's terrible to think about. But, like, honestly, in my very Pentecostal and sheltered girl mind, that's how it was,
Right.
So I feel like it was, I don't know, that's kind of bad to think about, but it's just how I thought. But the rest of it was, I had to figure it out on my own. Like, I never even had to talk.
Me either.
I didn't know, when people say, like, oh, like, when a mom and dad, I didn't get that.
Me.
Here's unrestricted access to the internet. that's what you get. And then, like, and by the time, I don't know, when I got older, I was put in more strict rules. But by that time, I already saw everything, knew everything. It was terrible, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, growing up, I never was talked about that. And even, like, in youth groups and things like that. It's kind of crazy that the more that was talked about was, like, I don't know, like sex before marriage. But it was always told as something like, people out there do that. Like,
yeah, people in the world.
People in the world do that. And it's kind of funny that I remember one time when we were in Poinciana and past church. I don't know what happened or what was talked about one Wednesday, and I went to my dad and I was like, "Oh, it was good. It was, like, the service was good, but I feel like, it was leaning more towards this, and I feel like the kids in church won't really understand that because they don't really know about sex." And then he was like, "You'd be surprised." Right. And thinking back, I'm like, them church kids are crazy. Let's talk about that's what we want to get in today.
Let's get into it.
Because growing up is different. I feel like growing up we came from very different, not different backgrounds between us, but different backgrounds to what we are now.
Yeah, but now the kids, now like we said in the last episode, they know everything.
Yeah.
So they walk into church, already have done everything. Yeah. Already have lived the whole life.
And
when church was our only life.
Right. That and it was just as many stories we can talk about the early church and what we grew up in. It was safe from the things that kids these days aren't safe from.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I was like, I used to complain that I couldn't have, Instagram until I didn't have Instagram until I was like 15. But I'm glad. Are you kidding me? Imagine me at 8 years old having the Instagram glitch.
I had Instagram at 11. I know. My sister was so mad too. If you're watching this, I know you were so mad.
LOL.
I remember you being a hater. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I remember being mad. No, but it makes sense why.
Yeah. What was the point? I didn't have anything. And then I would I didn't legally have it on my phone, but I had an account and I used to go on my like Safari or like my whatever, and I would have an account there and I just post pictures on the internet. Like from my internet, like when it says like take picture now, I would do that and I just straight post it. I couldn't put a caption or anything. Like when you do Instagram on like online, you can't put a caption. That's why my life. That's how I snuck it. Okay. So let's get into hookup culture and whatever that means. That word isn't even in the Bible. Like,
not a thing.
It's not a thing. Why is it a thing now? Because it's not biblical. I quit.
I give up.
No, I'm gone. But yeah, because who invented that? I actually want to find him, personally have a conversation, because what is that? And why? Because we have to deal with it now. Because obviously we can't join a nunnery. Not Catholic. So we have to marry eventually. But instead, guys, instead of men men used to go to war. Fight. They used to go to war. They used to send us letters. They used to wish to come home to a loving wife. Now
on the sun.
They call us females on podcasts. Now they literally what? What is this? Then and that also goes back to the porn thing and how it's corrupted our minds as a society, because it not only changes our view on ourselves, but let's talk about it. It changes the view on women.
It does.
Like women are these objects to be desired, not people to respect. Like, and I think that's why hookup culture, even that phrase is a thing, and why it's so like marriage is an option now. Well, not like it's not an option. Yeah,
but it's not as honored as before. Yeah. Like it's such a sacred thing that we read about in our Bibles, or when you're little, like you look up, like you look
plan
forward.
My wedding.
Yeah, and you dream about things like this, and now people are like, oh, I'm in an open relationship, or
That, get out.
like that's a lot, or and it's controversial to even be like, oh my god, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
that's our belief. Like like
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like you can't say I respect my partner and then go and just be open to a whole nother person. Like that's
Yeah.
actually insane to me. Um,
And I don't ever like want to come on here and say you're this and you're that. But at the end of the day, yeah, that is our belief as Christians and as like that's just us. That's not it's not okay, and I think it takes away from like I think monogamy, which
mhm.
I don't even for a certain thing to have a term, I think it needs to have an antonym,
Yeah,
and I hate that there's an antonym to monogamy. I feel like
yeah,
that should just be come hello, like that's just normal, you
yeah,
know? And it is so insane to me how it's crazy how everyone talks about like, oh, I'm jealous when this and I'm jealous with that and like, but then like your man is straight up talking to seven other girls and you're okay with that, and not to like point fingers or anything, but like, and then guys like you're just out there when you're praying for a wife, but then you're swiping more than once on Tinder, like for me it's
yeah,
just like
yeah,
it's this like multiple choice,
yeah.
and instead of there's only one right answer, and that's a man and a wife, and that's like it just whatever. There's a lot we can get into on that
Right.
topic, but on the other side, I think it's just like it takes away from this the beauty of purity and having one other person to love
Hmm.
is it's so disregarded in the society,
Yeah.
and it's insane to me like and there's such beauty, and not just because of culture, not just because of tradition, but when you find the beauty in finding that one person, and it's so sad that what we've created as a society has turned into that. But that's sorry. So I was
No,
like, yeah,
no,
but
literally. And because it's so shoved in our faces, like we talked about, um, there's people think that is the only option. Like, oh, if this person doesn't
yeah,
have what I'm looking for, someone else will have it. And in the end, we're just looking to fulfill fantasies that we do see online or have heard about or what other people do, and it's a sad reality.
yeah,
And it's like you said, it's not biblical. It's
yeah,
not something that I think people should flaunt. Like I think
yeah,
our generation loves to flaunt how many bodies
yeah,
they have. I hate that term. Like, oh, I have how many bodies? Yeah, like what bodies? Like
yeah,
bodies? Like what do you mean? But like
mm,
that's crazy term. But it really is. People do make it really all about who you, how many people you've been with, rather
yeah,
than the quality of the person that you're seeking to find. And it
mm,
should be, and it's what we think, right? One person,
yeah,
our future husband, or whatever that looks like for the person watching this, whether it's a wife or a husband. But it's so sad to see that the world, I want to say, not just the world, but the enemy has corrupted the world, right?
yeah,
And to believing that, excuse me, that there has to be so many other avenues to go, um, and it's just it's disrespectful. All in all, like
yeah,
it's you're not even just disrespecting the person that you're with, but yourself,
yeah,
to feel like you need to place yourself in all these situations or with all these people just so you can, I don't know, flaunt it,
yeah,
or gain respect or whatever it is, or because it gets deeper into that, like when you open yourself up to a person, like it's literally spiritual, right? Like
yeah,
you're becoming one,
yeah,
literally. And so you can't become one with all these other people, like
yeah,
you're getting whatever they have, right? Like
right,
it's an exchange, like
yeah,
it really is
literally,
a soul tie. And so you can't have all these soul ties like
right,
it's not a thing,
exactly,
so it's corrupting your mind. Like
yeah,
at the end of the day, you're doing something like you knowingly doing something that you know is wrong. You're causing like cogn what is it, cognitive dissonance, like in
yeah,
your
no, no,
life.
literally, that is,
Like it's crazy.
yeah, and it's sad, and it's just like what how did it no not that it how did it come to this, but I think that again, what we were saying earlier, like, is this the world that we're bringing our kids into?
Yeah.
That, like, and I also think it is this. Um, this was never a, not to be like, oh, back in old times, or like,
Yeah.
but I feel like now that the devil has allowed many people to think that there are so many options.
Right.
That you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
And you can, and that's not, I think, what's that, like, self culture? Like, I can be whoever I want, and I get to decide, and I do this, and I that, and I that, and it's a very, like, me culture, I culture, and it takes out the respect of not only marriage and unity and one person. It takes out the respect of God.
Yeah.
Because now you put yourself as the king. I can do this. I can make myself happy. I can be whoever I want to be, and I have this title, and I can be this, and it's just like, that's what the devil wants.
Yeah.
It's to, and if you, and it's the, what is that, the symptoms, not the disease.
Yeah.
It's like the symptoms are, you know, and let's talk about it, polyamory.
Yeah.
And the symptoms are having multiple bodies, and the symptoms are having you know, doing this and doing that, and those are the symptoms. But the disease is, the devil wants you to take God out of the position of your king.
Yeah.
Out of the position as someone who is over you and who paid the ultimate price for you.
Right.
And it's so sad because, like, and we can talk about that all day, but that's not the, we keep circling back, like, that's what the screen wants to take from you.
Yeah.
Is this, like, oh, like, the screen wants your attention, because that takes you away from God.
Right.
And I think that's it. And I think the saddest part is that we just, where is he? Honestly, where's the man? Because it's so, like, it's embedded into, and not, this is not an attack, but this is the truth, like, into Hispanic male culture, and even any male culture. It's this, like we call it machismo, but I feel like that's in every culture.
Yeah.
Like, just, you have to have this, instead of, okay, men need to be, take care of your wife and take care of your children. Now it's like, get money, F, the word that people like to use for women. I don't even know why.
Yeah.
But, all this stuff where it's this mentality of, I need to get this for myself. I need to, it's done.
Yeah.
But it that's also, like, just affects dating and everything. But yeah.
No, and it's like you said, self-sufficiency over like looking for God to take reign and putting him back on the throne. I think we do that every time we open up something that we're not supposed to. Like, we put ourselves first, our desires first, our wants first, and disregard God. And that is hard truth. Like, especially if you are someone that struggles with, like, like, just pornography, like looking at pornography, or like we said, like, negative thinking, or like relationships, or maybe you just struggle, like, just loving too much. Like, that can be a struggle, or not loving anyone at all, or like, that's also real. Like, you cannot like anyone. And I think, like you said, like, male culture has been so, be the man, do this, do that. But then for girls, it's always been like, well, be the perfect wife. And learn how to cook. And you need to like how to you need to like cleaning, because you need to take care of the house. Or and those are all like good principles to have. Yes, you don't want to be dirty.
Yeah, don't be dirty.
But it's also like, I know that I wasn't born to be just a wife.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of like having that balance of, God, I want to be, like I was telling you, the wife that you called me to be.
Yeah.
Not the wife that my husband needs or wants me to be.
Yep.
Or that the society wants me to fit in, because there's like, it's like a, what's the word? I don't want to say aesthetic, but they have like, oh, Christian girl aesthetic or Christian wife aesthetic, and it's like the girl that has everything, the Bible and the note, the highlighters and everything. But it's like, no, Christian girl aesthetic is, I'm struggling. And
the
like,
Christian girl aesthetic is, I hate my husband right now. I hate my
like people are actually struggling, and we just like to mask it with like, a hashtag,
a pretty TikTok filter, a pretty caption, editing.
Yeah. Like, and it's like, why are we masking? And we talk about it all the time, but even like I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, why do we mask something that we struggle with just because we have a title as believers?
Yeah.
When we're the first ones ready to be like, oh, we're not like everyone else. But we struggle so much talking about stuff like that everyone else goes through because we don't want to be labeled as something else. I know I went off topic a little bit, but shifting back, like, it's so crazy to think like that's just how we've been. That's just how it was brought up. Yeah. And that's how it's presented to us. But that's not the way that it has to stay.
No.
And I think we have a good opportunity, like, as whoever's watching or whatever, like, to kind of just bring that more to light. Like, hey, like, this is real. And, like, you have to have real conversations. Like, I know, like, yeah, it wasn't talked about in our, when we were younger, like, what it was or how to go through it, but now we can have those conversations with people that are younger than us. Like, hey, I know you know this, but do you actually know what it is? Because it's so in your face. Like, these lyrics that we sing, like, just music. Like, my niece, she's felt convicted listening to Bad Bunny. We're talking about Bad Bunny stan, like, went to the concerts and everything. But now she's like, oh my gosh, like, that's actually not good. Like, like, so there's an awareness that needs to be, like, spoken of. Yeah. Because the more, and like you said, like, the music is penetrating our soul, like, without us even asking, without us even knowing. So the more we confess these lyrics, like, oh, like, I'm a baddie, like, whatever it is, like, oh, it's kind of like, I don't need you. Yeah. I can do whatever I want, and I'm going to be with whoever I want. And the more we confess it, the more we start to believe it. Yeah. And I think it's like, yes, the power of life is in your tongue. So are you going to be, what are you going to look like? Like, what do you want to look like? How does that project into what we listen to, what we're watching, and just all of that?
And it's good. And just to close off, I think, like, that point where we can sit here and obviously, like, we've talked about a lot of stuff, and it's scary because it's a dooming thought of, like, wow, our society is so messed up and all these are happening, we can't do anything. But at the same time that the devil is at work, God works harder. Right. And you see, like, that, like, God is it, and he prophesied it, in my final days I will pour out my spirit, and the youth will speak in tongues, and they will see visions. Yeah. And all of these things have been prophesied for so long. And so it is scary and it's dooming, and it feels like, what are we to do? Right. How are we going to find our spouses, and how are we going to protect our children? How are we going to protect our families? But God is doing that. Yeah. And God is influencing, and even more than the devil ever could. And he is pouring out, and he is showing things, and he is convicting us. Yeah. And he is allowing us to have spaces like this so we can talk, and opening up spaces for other people to talk about these things. Because it doesn't matter what the devil does. Right. God will always erase it, and God will always fix it, and God will always protect us from it. Amen. So, and yeah, that's just what we wanted to talk about, and we hope that these 2 past episodes have influenced your life as has influenced ours, and we will continue to be. And honestly, I feel like we're attacking the things that we've hidden for so long, and the conversations that have been hidden, and the not dinner table conversations that we have. Yeah. And then literally, and I think it's in the same way that the devil has been trying to attack us, we need to attack it back with conversation. And so, yeah, I love you.
I love you. I love you too.
And love you. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. You can catch us on all our socials. Please subscribe, please follow, please tag us, add us. Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and everywhere else you get your podcast. And yeah, we love you guys. See you next week, Friday. And yeah, love y'all. Bye. Bye.